Hi everyone! Welcome to my educational video. Today, my feature is about artistic and creative literacy. Have you ever thought of the world without quality art? Some might say, that's not the problem, I have a television at home. Others may inadvertently just give it a blank stare. Some may more than a few be horrified at the thought that there is such a scenario. Clearly, without quality art, there would be no Greek statues, no classic Roman architecture, no Mona Lisa, no Shakespeare classics, and no Victor Hugo novels, no Mozart sonatas. In other words, the list is over. In a world where more is supposed to be better than less and faster beating slower, it is our duty to refocus our senses and give all kinds of art-related education. More important at this juncture, artistic and creative literacy now comes to the fore, and you are here for a reason. What is artistic and creative literacy? Degrees for students to acquire literacy or educational knowledge and competency is the ubiquitous goal across all curricular disciplines. The fundamental skills and knowledge needed for basic literacy provide the foundation for more complex learning to occur. Acquisition of literacy in the arts is similarly developed when students can demonstrate and communicate their understanding of the basic concept and principle of the art form. Artistic literacy is defined in the National Coalition for Core Art Standards, a conceptual framework for arts learning in 2014 as follows. Artistic literacy is the knowledge and understanding required to participate authentically in the arts. While individuals can learn about dance, media, music, theater, and visual art through reading print text, artistic literacy requires that they engage in artistic creation processes directly through the use of material such as charcoal, or paint, or clay, musical instrument, or scores, and in specific spaces like concert halls, stages, dance rehearsal spaces, art studios, and computer labs. The writers of the NCCAS conceptual framework propose that students must experience the arts from diverse perspectives called artistic processes, including creating, performing or presenting, or producing, responding, and connecting. Artistic literacy is a human right and a teachable skill. It is the ability to connect both personally and meaningfully to works of art, and through this process, to forge connection to our humanity and the humanity of others. What is the importance of artistic and creative literacy in education? Bringing creativity and literacy together can be a powerful tool in teaching. It allows children to be active in literacy, from acting out plays to characters that they made themselves or through making props. It allows children to explore their imagination. Art literacy helps students develop design thinking, creativity, and critical thinking, all skills said to be important for the future workforce. Artistic practices intrinsically involve the reception production of science in a continuous process of translation from one language to another. 8 benefits or valuable lessons that education can learn from arts according to Elliot W. Esner. Elliot W. Esner is a visionary in the field of arts and education. Focus of his academic research is the development of aesthetic intelligence and the uses of critical methods from the arts to improve educational practice. Author of more than 15 books and many articles, She has originally trained as a painter and designer. Number 1. Form and content cannot be separated. How something is said or done shapes the content of experience. It has long been held that form and content are distinct phenomena and that one can modify the form of an object or even without changing its content. The content and the form coexist and must of necessity define each other. To change the form of a form is to change the quality of experience that it makes possible. The quality of experience that the form makes possible is what the content of the form is. What does this mean for education? It means it serves as a reminder that how something is taught and how curricula are organized, how schools are designed impacts what students will learn. The side effects may be the real main effects of practice. Number 2. Everything interacts. There is no content without form, and no form without content. The point of this idea, pedagogically, is to acknowledge that when the form is changed in an object or an event, so too is the quality of life it engenders. When the content of a form is changed, so too is the form altering. Form and content are like two sides of a coin. One cannot have one without the other. There are no separate parts in the whole. For example, a color looks like depends upon the colors around it. The same is true in teaching. We call this interaction. The concept of interaction is a fundamental in education as it is in all human states of affairs. What is large and what is small depends upon what one is comparing it to. What is hard and what is soft depends on the hardness of the hard and the softness of the soft. Soft can be hard in some contexts and can be soft in others. This is because interaction is a condition of experience. In teaching, whether a teacher is considered to move swiftly or slowly depends not only upon the teacher's rate of speech, but also on what the student brings to the occasion. For some students, swift is slow, and for others, slow is swift. It is the character of the interaction that defines our experience. Number 3. Nuanced Matters. To the extent to which teaching is an art, attention to nuance is critical. It has been said that the devil lives in the details. It can also be said that the aesthetics lives in the nuances, that the maker can shape the course of creation. How a word is spoken, how a gesture is made, how a line is written, and how a melody is played all affect the character of the whole. And all depends upon the modulation of the nuances that constitute the act. Musicians live in their nuances. There are dozens of ways to play pizzicato on a violin, but what any particular violinist does with the pizzicato depends on what he or she does with the nuances that constitute his rendition of the music. Number 4. Surprise is not to be seen as an intruder in the process of inquiry, but as a part of the rewards one reaps when working artistically. In our technically oriented, control-focused society, we tend to regard surprise as an inevitable to protect. It is, but surprise in the course of work is also the result of securing a new insight, one that was hitherto unexpected. No surprise, no discovery. No discovery, no progress. Educators should not resist surprise, but create the conditions to make it happen. It is one of the most powerful sources of intrinsic satisfaction. Number 5. Slowing down perception is the most promising way to see what is actually there. It is true that we have certain words to designate high levels of intelligence. We describe somebody as swift, or bright, or sharp, or fast on the pick-up. Speed in swift state is the descriptor for those we call smart. Such folks are a quick wit. Number 6. The limits of language are not the limits of cognition. We know more than we can tell. In common parlance, literacy refers essentially to the ability to read and to write, but literacy could be conceptualized, and I propose to do so, as the creation and use of a form of representation that will enable one to create meaning that will not take the impress of language in its conventional form. In addition, literacy is associated with high-level form of cognition. We tend to think that in order to know, you have to be able to say. I would argue that the limits of language in no way define the limits of cognition. As Michael Polanyi reminds us, we know more than we can tell. The implications of that idea are profound for education. If taken seriously, it will expand our conception of what knowing entails. It would recognize the diverse ways in which people can be literate, or should I say multi-literate. Language used in the service of the poetic is quite different than language used in the service of the literal. One can be literate in one form and illiterate in the other. What schools need to attend to are the cultivation of literacy in its many forms. Each form of literacy provides another way to be in the world, another way to form experience, another way to recover and express meaning. Number 7. Semantic experience is one of the most important indicators that someone has gotten it right. Related to the multiple ways in which we represent the world through our multiple forms of literacy is the way in which we come to know the world through the entailments of our body in the world itself. Sometimes one knows a process or an event through one's skin. As Susan Lauer was committed, the senses are our first avenues to consciousness. There is nothing in the head that was not first in the hand. Semantic experience is body language, a sense of rightness of fit, an ability to discriminate without being able to articulate the condition that made it possible. The body knows and forms the basis for intuition. To require the logical description or the logical arguments for a claim about a state of affairs is to expel the poetic form, what can be known. The evidence for what we know almost always supersedes and expands to more than what one can say about it. Number 8. Open-ended tasks permit the exercise of imagination. And the exercise of imagination is one of the most important of human aptitudes. Imagination is the source of new possibilities. In the arts, imagination is a primary virtue, so it should be the teaching of mathematics, in all of science, in history, and indeed in virtual all that humans create. This achievement would require for its realization a culture of schooling in which the imaginative aspects of the human condition were made possible. We ought to be helping our students discover new seas upon which to sail rather than all sports at which to dock. We need schools whose tasks are sufficiently open-ended to allow students to place their thumbprint upon their work without a sense of redundancy. Characteristic of an artistically literate individual. So an artistically literate individual have a wide variety of knowledge when it comes and utilizing artistic media form. Literature and art education and artist standards in education cited the following as common traits of artistically literate individuals. Number 1. Use a variety of artistic media, symbols, and metaphors to communicate their own ideas and to respond to the artistic communication of others. You are to transform something that is ordinary into something that stands out. You are conceptualizing and creating work of art. You must think deeply so that you will represent a person, place, thing, or idea by using analogy in a creative way. and you should know the meaning of a symbol you will use because it gives depth in the art. Number 2. Development creative personal realization in at least one art form in which they continue active involvement as an adult. You should get in touch with your inner child. There's an innocence and buoyancy to childhood, and as we age, that light-hearted nature seems to face due to stress and life obligation that comes with adulthood. I know a lot of persons transforming their frustrations into arts and able to make meaningful peace, taking time to release inhibition and enjoy experimentation can foster the creative spirit and take the mind and body to new and exciting heights by opening yourself up to the different avenues and experiences. You'll make a room for greater balance and fulfillment in your personal ventures. Number 3. Cultivate culture, history, and other connections through diverse forms and genres of artwork. An artistically literate individual is able to connect to show relations of an art on the culture, history, and so forth that every piece of an art depicts in an emotion that is kept behind. Number 4. Find joy, inspiration, intellectual stimulation, and meaning when they participate in the arts. As an artist, it is normal to feel some things uncreative and uninspired. It is common to have your periods upload artistic inspiration. Better you won't stop. Because of this, in performing arts, you need to have peace, to think clearly, and to cultivate ideas in order to come up with valuable ones. Number 5. And seek artistic experiences and support the arts in their communities. So this means that an individual never stops on learning of art and continuously cultivate his capability of unbalancing more experiences that would mold his artistic talents with a glimpse of reflection of reality. Moreover, he or she may support different arts in his community, promoting and influencing others to engage in artistic activities to further enhance and enrich the artistic capabilities. Issues in teaching creativity. According to Kent Robinson, creativity is about working in a highly focused way on ideas and projects, crafting them into their best forms and making critical judgment along the way. Based on my research, creativity began way back the Renaissance period by simply doing something you are creative. In his famous TED or TED Talks on creativity and innovation entitled Do Schools Kill Creativity? And How to Escape Education Death Valley, he stressed paradigm in the education system that hamper the development of creative capacity among learners. He emphasized that schools stigmatize mistakes. This primarily prevents students from trying and coming up with original ideas. He reiterated the hierarchy of systems. Firstly, most useful subjects such as mathematics and languages for works are at the top while arts are at the bottom. Secondly, academic ability has come to dominate our view of intelligence. Curriculum, competencies, classroom, and experiences and assessment. Students are schooled in order to pass entrance exam in college and universities later on. Because of it, Robinson challenged educators to educate the will of learners and shift from the conventional learning towards academic ability alone. Give equal weight to the arts, the humanities, and to physical education. Students prosper best with a broad curriculum that celebrates their various talents. The art aren't just important because they improve math courses, they are important because they speak to parts of children that are otherwise untouched, facilitate learning, and work towards stimulating curiosity among learners. Encouraging students to embrace their curiosity is an important part of education. It is the key to learning. In the fact, students shows that when we are curious about a subject, we are much more likely to remember information we learn about the subject. Awaken and development powers of creativity among learners, and view until we as diverse, dynamic, and distinct contrary to common belief that it should be academic ability geared. We need to consider also our intelligence in arts and widen our belief that we can measure the intelligence to pass the assignment or activities related to academic subjects.